Welcome to the dazzling world of Greek mythology. These lands are filled with secrets, the wrath of gods, and the immortal sagas of heroes. At every corner there's a legend, and with every breath a god is hidden. You'll climb the sacred Mount Olympus and hear the thunderous voice of Zeus, feel the wisdom of Athena, and witness the wisdom of Athena. Today, we're following in the footsteps of the gods as we step into their world. If you're ready, let's start uncovering the ancient secrets of Greek mythology together. Who knows what stories await us in this rich and mysterious world? Welcome, friends of ancient stories. Are you ready to step into the magical world of Greek mythology, filled with gods, heroes, and timeless legends? These stories I'm about to share with you aren't just whispers passed down over time. I have seen this land, this legendary era where gods and humans lived side by side, with my own eyes. As someone who has witnessed the majesty of the gods and heard the tales of brave heroes, I'm here to whisper these mysteries to you. Close your eyes and imagine. At sunset, the great Mount Olympus rises, its peaks glowing red. At the top, Zeus, the father of the gods, holds the mighty thunderbolts in his powerful hands. With every thunderclap, a king kneels, a city is born, or a war begins. Beneath the seas, Poseidon's fury swells. His power stirs the waters and fills sailors' hearts with fear. On the battlefields, Athena shines with wisdom and strategy, guiding the armies. In this world, every element, every stone, every star tells a story. And now, together, we begin to trace the path of these magical tales. But remember, my dear friends, stepping into this world full of gods and demigods is no ordinary journey. The paths we walk can be dark at times, or lit by light, but they will always bring us closer to another secret. Will we reach the peak of Mount Olympus, or discover the first spark of fire that Prometheus gave to humanity? Let's see what awaits us. Are you ready to find out? Now, take a deep breath, because we're about to take our first step. But who are the gods? Where do they come from? And why do they roam among humans forever? Up next, we'll uncover the creation story of this ancient world. What secrets are hidden in this legend? Come, let's learn together. My dear friends, now I'm going to take you to the very birth of the universe, to that ancient, mysterious moment when everything began. Close your eyes and imagine no sound, no light, not even time moving. This endless, dark void is chaos. It has no beginning or end, a deep nothingness where everything is intertwined. And one day there was a stir. Imagine such power, such an explosion, that everything is intertwined. And one day there was a stir. Imagine such power, such an explosion, that everything was intertwined. And one day there was a stir. And from this chaos, a being appeared. Gaia. She is the origin of all life we know, the essence of life itself. Gaia is the Earth Mother, who carries us all on her back, the homeland of all living things, warm, fertile, and generous. Her heartbeat is felt in every mountain and every valley. Gaia was the first being to bring life to this void. With her power, she began to shape the earth. But Gaia was not alone. After her, from the darkness, another deep force was born. Tartarus. Ah, Tartarus. Imagine that while Gaia was as fertile and bright, Tartarus was just as dark and mysterious. This bottomless abyss was a source of fear in the lowest layers of hell. But at the same time, it was a powerful entity that defined the boundaries of the universe. The existence of Tartarus echoed in the cold silence of the deepest corners of the cosmos. It was such a place that even reaching it was a legend. This chasm, which even titans and gods feared, was the grave of the darkest secrets. Then another giant birth took place. Uranus, the ruler of the sky, the magnificent celestial dome filled with stars. Uranus was the sky itself, spreading over Gaia like a protective cloak. The stars that shone at night were his adornments. The lightning was his anger. The winds were his breath. Uranus and Gaia, the earth and the sky, were bound together like two lovers, and they brought their first children into the world. These children, the Titans, would shape the balance of the entire universe, symbols of power and grandeur. The Titans, Cronus, Rhea, Oceanus, Themis, and others, each one represented a colossal force, the first children of nature, born from the hearts of Gaia and Uranus. Cronus was the most prominent and powerful of this noble family. But among these gigantic beings, there was also a fire of ambition, a rebellion. Uranus, their father, tried to imprison them deep within the earth, which was a great insult to the Titans. And in the end, Cronus started a great revolt against his father, and this rebellion sparked the first conflict that would change the course of the entire universe. Cronus overthrowing Uranus was a legendary event, watched with horror by even the gods. But my friends, our story doesn't end here. Because after this age of the Titans, Cronus's children would come into the world, one by one, and seek their place on the throne. Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, the Olympian gods. Each one was bold enough to challenge the power of the Titans. Now, as these mighty gods were born, the shadow of war was beginning to loom in the skies. A fierce struggle between the old powers and the new masters was approaching. So, my dear friends, what do you think? Will Cronus's mighty reign stay in place? Or will his children, the Olympian gods, start a new era? Let's continue to tell this epic that awaits us. Oh, my friends, now we're heading straight into the great battle, the terrifying Titanomachy that even legends tremble at. Picture this epic in your minds, as if you're witnessing the clash of massive forces under dark skies. Because this wasn't just a fight for power, it was the story of a new order, the birth of an entirely new era in the gods' world. Kronos, the most powerful of the Titans, was the Lord of Time and the Mighty Father. But as sweet as power may be, holding on to it is just as difficult, isn't it? Kronos shook both the heavens and the earth. His scythe ensuring his rule was felt everywhere. Yet, this giant feared a prophecy that one day his own children would take his throne. This deep fear of his children led him to devour them all. Yes, he swallowed his own flesh and blood. Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, and the others, all of them in an attempt to protect his power. But dear friends, the threads of fate are always woven in surprising ways. One child survived. Gaia and Rhea managed to rescue Kronos' youngest son, Zeus, by hiding him away. As Zeus grew and gained power, he emerged to seek revenge and put an end to his father's tyrannical reign. And so began the relentless war between the Titans and the Olympians. The Titans build to this heightened terror to some threat by Gaius and Rhea, and so began the relentless war between the Titans and the Olympians. The Titan family invited Galilena for help rescuing Kronos and the junior gods. This was a battle between two generations of gods, the old and the new, fought with thunderbolts that tore through the sky and earthquakes that shook the world. Zeus, joined by his brothers Hades and Poseidon, sent his thunderbolts down from the peak of Olympus at the Titans. Poseidon, with his massive trident, boiled the oceans while Hades emerged from the depths of the underworld and summoned an army of the dead on Somerset High. So, it's all about peacetime trouble down on the side of the Titans by his side. For days, weeks, this battle raged on, each clash opening new wounds in the earth, each strike casting the sky into a red haze. As the battle raged, the hatred and ambition of the gods set the heavens ablaze, while Zeus's lightning clashed with Kronos' might, shaking the entire universe. In the end, dear friends, this war came to a dramatic conclusion with a great explosion. Zeus defeated the Titans. Kronos and his allies were chained and locked away in the deepest dungeons of Tartarus. The new generation of gods declared their rule from Mount Olympus. Zeus became the king of the heavens and the gods. Poseidon ruled the seas, and Hades became the ruler of the underworld. Each became a mighty lord in their own domain, and thus a new order was established among the gods. Oh, my friends, every victory has its cost, and every order brings new challenges. So now I ask you, Zeus may have opened the doors to a new era, but how long will this new order stand unshaken? Perhaps the next tale will hold the answer to this very question. My dear friends, when the destructive storm of the Titanomachia finally calmed, a void was left behind, but this void was ready to be filled with power and dominance. Zeus, having defeated the Titans, ascended to the peak of Mount Olympus and claimed his throne as the ruler of the gods. But you see, winning a kingdom is one thing, but ruling it requires a whole different kind of wisdom, doesn't it? Zeus, as the absolute master of Olympus, was preparing to bring order not just to himself, but to the entire universe. He was determined to use his power wisely and justly, maintaining the balance between the worlds of gods and men. Together with his brothers Poseidon and Hades, they shared the world. Zeus took control of the sky and the storms. Poseidon became the lord of the oceans and seas, while Hades ruled the underworld and the dead. This powerful trio ruled over every corner of the universe, holding the fate of every wind, every wave, and even every soul in their hands. But my friends, Olympus wasn't just the throne and three rulers. Zeus wisely divided duties among the gods because he knew that no matter how powerful a king may be, without loyal helpers, his reign won't last long. Athena became Zeus's right hand in wisdom and war strategy. Her sharp mind played a crucial role in every matter of the gods. The beautiful Aphrodite, as the goddess of love and beauty, taught devotion to both gods and humans, while Apollo brought music and the sun to the world, gifting humanity with the beauty of art. Every god and goddess was entrusted with dominion over some aspect of nature or human life. Thus, order was established in Olympus, and everything began to function in harmony. However, these gods didn't just sit at the top of the heavens watching over the lives of humans from afar, my friends. Their interest in the human world was, perhaps, a reflection of their own nature. Sometimes the gods descended to the earth to help humanity, while other times they came to test their fate. Zeus reminded humans of his power through his lightning and storms, while Hera touched the fate of women and families with her jealousy. Apollo's lyre would soothe people, while Ares' passion for war would drive them into fury. You see, the world of the gods and human life were intertwined. One could not exist without the other. Humans feared the gods, but they also drew inspiration from them, worshipped them, and found their own lives reflected in the gods' stories. The relationships between the gods were much like those among humans: love, jealousy, quarrels, and sometimes alliances. These divine beings on Olympus had their own weaknesses. Hera would grow furious over Zeus's constant attraction to other women, while gods like Apollo and Artemis would support each other. Ares and Athena, on the other hand, would face each other on the battlefield. Each of them became a figure driven by their own passions and desires. My friends, as if they were living like humans at the highest point of the sky. But no matter how solid this divine order may seem, do you think it could be completely free from shaking? These gods, who fell victim to their own passions, what kind of intrigues and struggles might they face in the future? Ah, my dear friends, at the peak of Mount Olympus, Zeus, who sat on the throne of the gods ruling the world, wasn't just a symbol of power. He was not only the master of the heavens, but also the protector of justice and order. After putting an end to the terrifying reign of the Titans, he rolled up his sleeves to bring structure to Olympus. With the power of his thunderbolts, Zeus was a ruler who instilled fear in the hearts of both gods and humans, but at the same time, he was a leader whose people looked for justice. Ruthless against rebellions, but generous to those who deserved it, Zeus never forgave those who betrayed him. And he was the greatest and most powerful of the gods of Olympus. One should never underestimate Zeus's power. There was a time when Prometheus helped humans steal fire, and he felt Zeus's wrath. Zeus sentenced him to eternal punishment. Every day, an eagle would eat Prometheus's liver. Zeus had the power to determine the fate of humans, and was cruel enough to punish them with the harshest of punishments when necessary. Yet, my friends, it would be wrong to see him solely as a cruel figure. Zeus's decisions were balanced by his role as the guardian of justice. He always backed his power with wisdom and fairness. The gods of Olympus were not the first nor the last to challenge his authority, but they had to face the consequences. This order, where even the gods had to follow the rules, was maintained because of Zeus's sharp intellect and will. But my friends, Zeus's display of power didn't only represent dominance. In Olympus, everything came at a price. Hera, the mighty goddess of marriage, loyalty, and family bonds, stood beside Zeus, but sometimes against him. Hera was one of the most feared and respected figures among the gods, just as much as Zeus. She guarded the sanctity of marriage and the structure of the family, never forgiving Zeus for his unfaithfulness. Jealousy was like a storm that raged within Hera's heart. Zeus's constant affairs with mortal women only fueled her wrath. No matter how powerful Zeus was, there were times when he found himself helpless against Hera's cunning schemes. Think about it, my friends. These deep connections between the gods, they both bound them together and pushed them apart. Family relationships were a security for each godly being, but they were also part of a web of jealousy and ambitious games. Hera's jealousy would sometimes spill over into the human world. Heroes like Heracles felt Hera's deep hatred and couldn't escape her wrath. Hera, the goddess of marriage, loyalty, and family order, possessed one of the hardest hearts of Olympus. Yet even under Zeus's reign, the unrest in the hearts of the gods never ceased. What challenges do you think this seemingly unshakable order of the gods would face in the future? Hera's heart, torn between loyalty and jealousy, would continue to affect which heroes, which worlds? Ah, my friends, I can almost hear a rumble rising from the depths of the waters. It's the power of Poseidon. Yes, while Zeus, the Lord of the heavens, reigns on his throne, it's Poseidon who holds dominion over the seas. He's no ordinary god. He's the master of the deep oceans, the one who shapes the rise and fall of the waves with his breath. Every storm, every wave, is a reflection of his will. People stand on the shore, not looking up to the sky, but gazing at the sea, praying. They know that Poseidon's wrath, if angered, can destroy all harbors and coastlines. Poseidon's anger has been felt not just by mortals, but by gods and even monsters. There was once a time when Poseidon's fury was so intense that he swore to drown an entire city in waves. That's why people revere him with deep respect, offering sacrifices before embarking on sea voyages to calm him. But they don't approach Poseidon only out of fear. They also seek his help. He is the one who blesses the seas, ensures the safety of ships, and provides fish for the people. He is both the one who punishes and the one who grants favor. But among these three great brothers, there's another, my friends, the Lord of the underworld, the ruler of a silent and cold kingdom. Hades. Hades is the mysterious god who sends the souls of the dead on an endless journey. Nothing seen in the bright daylight of the world above exists in Hades' realm. There, buried riches, treasures, clinging to roots, and the silence of death rule. No living person can set foot in Hades' kingdom. It's a one-way road. A soul crossing the river Styx can never return. This river is sacred, bound by even the gods' oaths. Hades, as the guardian of justice, ensures that souls reach their final resting place, in his underground palace where he rules like a king. He quietly but destructively shows his anger toward those who disturb him. Hades and Poseidon, two great powers, each ruling different domains but bound by fate. So, do you think there's really peace between these gods? What kinds of conflicts will arise between these three brothers in the future? Will Poseidon's waves clash with Hades' shadows one day? Ah, my dear friends, when autumn comes, nature's colorful celebration slowly turns into a sad silence, and the harsh face of winter begins to touch the earth. But behind this seasonal change, there's a story so powerful that it will shake your heart. Demeter and her loving, gentle daughter Persephone. The separation and reunion of these two souls have gifted the earth with the seasons. It's a story of a mother and daughter, but not only for humans, it's an event that even the gods fall silent to, filled with pain. One day, while Persephone was picking flowers, the cold ruler of the underworld, Hades, set his sights on her. With a single move, he kidnapped Persephone and took her to his dark palace beneath the earth. When her beloved mother Demeter tracked her down, the earth was covered in mourning. She raised her hands to the sky and cried up, "Where is my daughter?" Demeter's sorrowful grief pushed the world into silence. Fields dried up, trees shed their leaves, and my friends, it is here that winter first came, covering the earth with a mother's sorrow. Even the ruler of the gods, Zeus, could not remain indifferent to this pain. It was decided that Persephone would spend half the year with her mother and the other half in Hades' palace underground. So each spring, Demeter celebrates her daughter's return by making the earth bloom again. But when autumn falls, the cold winds of separation once again fill Demeter's heart with grief. Demeter's story doesn't end here, for she is not only the mother of the gods, but also the mother of the earth itself. The Greek people worshipped her, hoping for the fertility of their crops, the abundance of their bread. Behind every grain, behind every ear of wheat, there's Demeter's hand, my friends. This cycle that lasts throughout the year shapes the life of the Greek people, reminding them of nature's harsh face. That's why Demeter's story is one of the most cherished among the people. But my friends, alongside such a powerful figure as Demeter, there is another goddess whose story is entirely different. This is the tale of Athena, a goddess forged with wisdom, courage, and justice. Zeus's favorite child, Athena is different from the other gods. She is a goddess who excels in both wisdom and the art of war. Telling the story of Athena's birth is something else. The tale goes that one day, as Zeus was writhing in terrible pain from a headache, a roar came from his chest, and Athena, fully armored as a warrior, sprang out of Zeus's head. Athena is equipped with the sharpest weapon of all, her intelligence and strategy. She stands beside warriors, encourages them and guides them. But Athena is not concerned with the brutality of war. She is focused on the subtlety of strategy. She's a warrior who defeats her enemies with clever moves. So, how did she guide humans, you ask? Athena has been the protector not just of gods, but of mortal heroes too. During the Trojan War, it was she who lit the way for Odysseus, teaching him to fight with cunning. With her justice and wisdom, she earned the love of the Greek people, providing their cities with security and knowledge. Now, my friends, how do you think this mighty goddess interacts with the other gods? How does Athena's intelligence affect them? Well, my friends, because the deep story of this goddess is just beginning. Apollo and Artemis, the bright children of the sun and the moon. Each of them carries a unique meaning, a different power, and a completely different symbol for humanity. The two children of Zeus and the Titaness Leto have brought light and depth to the earth. Just like the lights of the sky, let's start with Apollo. Apollo is often seen as just a sun god, but he's much more than that. He is the master of art, music, prophecy, medicine, and healing, a source of wisdom. While enchanting all the gods with his lyre, he also inspires the poets of the earth. You might have heard of the famous Temple of Apollo at Delphi. This was one of his most sacred places on earth. Here, priestesses would prophesy in his name, telling people their futures. His gift of prophecy came from Zeus himself. So, Apollo became not just a light from the sun guiding people, but also a torch of wisdom that illuminated their souls. With his love for the arts, Apollo also protected the muses, the goddesses of inspiration. He was a source of inspiration and a companion to poets and musicians. His powerful lyre created the most beautiful music in the world. When the music spread across the earth, all living things would fall silent for a moment, and nature's sounds would blend with Apollo's melodies. As for healing, he was known as the hand that healed wounds and restored health. It was as if it was his duty to ease people's pain and bring them hope and light. But Apollo wasn't just about peace. He was also a god who didn't hesitate to punish when angered. Against the arrogance and those who strayed from justice, he would act with harshness, shining his sun-like light on those who darkened the truth. While Apollo's bright light in the sky shone, Artemis balanced it with the mysterious tranquility of the night. Artemis, the protector of hunters, nature, and women, was a calm yet powerful presence, much like the cool light of the moon. Her bow and arrow, which she carried, were the perfect symbol of her character. She would run through dark forests, silently stalking her prey. Walking in Artemis's forests was like a test for those who didn't respect nature, animals, and women. It would turn into a labyrinth. But for those who approached her with sincere loyalty, all the riches of nature would be granted to them. As a hunter, Artemis cared deeply about the balance of nature. She punished those who harmed animals unnecessarily and did everything in her power to maintain the natural order. She was a solitary goddess, staying away from things like love and marriage, preferring to keep her freedom. It was because of this free spirit that women admired her, feeling safe under her protection. She was a guardian and refuge for women, especially during childbirth, giving them both strength and courage. During the festivals dedicated to her, songs were sung in the forest, and people danced under the moonlight. These dances and celebrations would touch the heart of the night, with the moonlight shining as if it were only for them. And then enters Dionysus, the god of wine, ecstasy, and freedom. Dionysus tells a completely different story, friends. His tale is one of breaking the monotony of the sober world, a story of freedom and madness. Dionysus's world is always filled with color and laughter. His wine gives courage and joy, tearing down the walls in people's hearts. Among the gods, Dionysus is the one who is closest to humans. His intertwining with both their struggle and their joys. Parties and festivals are held in his honor, where people under his guidance forget their worries for a time and learn to look at life with laughter. His most famous followers are the Maenads, wild, free-spirited women who dance, revel, and become one with the rhythm of nature. During these rituals, nature awakens in a different way, and people discover themselves in a new light. Dionysus brings not just joy, but chaos as well. At his festivals, the limits of reason are set aside and the essence of life is embraced. So, after the peaceful worlds of Apollo and Artemis, Dionysus is a full-blown rebellion. Just think about it. These three gods reflect every aspect of human life. Now, my dear friends, how was the balance between these gods maintained in the world of the Greeks? Prometheus, the craftiest and boldest of the Titans, the wise being who defied Zeus' commands, standing by humanity and helping them without hesitation, even at the cost of his own sacrifice. But why? Why would a Titan, who belonged to the gods, choose to stand with humanity against all the gods? Here's where it gets interesting, my friends. Prometheus had created humans, shaped them. He was deeply connected to them, almost like a parent. But creating them wasn't enough. Prometheus wanted to give humanity a spark of life, a force that could rival the power of the gods, something that would let them live life to the fullest. This love Prometheus had for humanity drove him to take a huge risk. Back then, the gods had kept fire away from humans. Fire was a divine power, something only the gods could use, not meant for the mortal world. Fire did more than just provide warmth and light. It gave humans knowledge, creativity, and freedom. Prometheus knew this, and he took the huge risk of stealing it. Under the cover of night, he secretly took a piece of fire from Mount Olympus and brought it to humanity. That moment marked the beginning of a new era for mankind. The warmth of the fire would pull humanity out of the darkness, pushing them to think, discover, and create. Now, people learned to shape stones, melt ores, make weapons and tools, and build shelters for themselves. Fire, in a sense, inspired the human spirit, giving them the resilience to face challenges and fight against nature. Fire didn't just warm them, it transformed them. With this act, Prometheus unlocked the door to a kind of divine knowledge for humanity. But, my friends, there was a price for stealing what the gods had forbidden. When Zeus discovered what had happened, he gave Prometheus a punishment so terrible it would challenge the limits of the human mind. Prometheus was chained to the peak of Mount Caucasus. Every day, an eagle would come and tear out his liver. And this painful torture was eternal, for Prometheus's wounds would heal every night, only to be torn open again the next day. Every morning, the eagle came reminding Prometheus of the god's power. This was the price for knowledge and freedom. Prometheus endured this pain for humanity, keeping the fire of knowledge and liberty alive in them. This story teaches us that knowledge and freedom don't come easily. By giving humanity the spark of knowledge, Prometheus brought them closer to the gods. But this closeness came with a cost. Humans would achieve new heights with this fire, but they would also encounter its darker side. So, my friends, what do you think? How did the fire of wisdom that Prometheus sparked resonate among the other gods? Join me in the next story as we explore the opportunities and dangers this fire brought to humanity. Pandora's box. This is a story, my friends, that sheds light on humanity's deepest desires, greatest weaknesses, and strongest hopes. After Prometheus gave fire to humans, Zeus's anger wasn't easily calmed. Fire had brought wisdom and freedom to mankind, but it destructed the order of the gods' world. Zeus, in response to Prometheus's betrayal, was determined to teach humanity an unforgettable lesson. And so, with this fury, Zeus came up with a plan. He created a beautiful woman named Pandora. To make her as powerful as the gods and as attractive as mortals, he had each god give her a different gift. Aphrodite bestowed her with mesmerizing beauty, Athena gave her wisdom and skill, and Hermes gave her the gift of sweet talking. Pandora, blessed with all these gifts, became a captivating beauty. But the greatest gift she received was that mysterious box, which hadn't been opened yet. This box, my friends, wasn't just any ordinary object. Zeus had filled it with all the troubles, diseases, disasters, and despair that would plague humanity. He had strictly instructed her, this box must never ever be opened. But Pandora, unable to resist the irresistible curiosity woven into her, was drawn to the mystery inside. Oh, that curiosity was so powerful that one day she couldn't resist the urge to open it. When the box was opened, a new era began for humanity. All the evils and troubles that had been trapped inside spread rapidly. Sickness, hunger, famine, war, strife. All these pains they had never known suddenly came to life. Humanity was meeting the harsh and brutal side of life for the very first time. From that moment on, the world was thrown into chaos, just as Zeus had intended. Pandora quickly tried to close the box, but it was too late. The evils had already spread into the world. However, deep inside the box, there was still something that hadn't come out: hope. This last remaining force hidden at the bottom of the box would become the greatest support for humanity to endure all the suffering in this new world. While Zeus's plan was to break humanity's spirit, thanks to the hope concealed in Pandora's box, mankind could face and overcome every hardship. Pandora's box, in essence, brought hope, the light to guide humanity through every challenge. This story, my friends, was humanity's first test. Born from Zeus's anger, yet hidden within it, was a powerful lesson. Yes, life contains suffering, but it also gives us hope to overcome it. So, What other trials would this hope help humanity face? Let's find out together in the next chapter. Heracles, the one who took refuge in the nest of Thessalians, harmed a palace of presidents, making them invisible. But he would challenge the gods themselves. But his fate was filled with such suffering that, my friends, his story tells us how much a man must sacrifice to rise to godhood. Heracles was the son of Zeus. That incredible strength, the power of the king of the gods, flowed through his veins. However, because of Hera's jealousy, he faced countless troubles and, moment of madness, harmed his own family. After this terrible event, he had to pay the price for his sins. And that's when Heracles began his famous 12 labors. These tasks were given to him as punishment, but for Heracles, they also meant a journey of purification and rebirth. Each task was nearly impossible and filled with challenges that tested his courage, strength, and intellect. First, he faced the Nemean lion. This creature's skin was impervious to arrows and swords, but Heracles fought it with his bare hands and defeated it. He wore the lion's indestructible pelt as a trophy of strength, and it became the symbol of his legendary image. Next, he confronted the Hydra, the monstrous water serpent. For each head that was cut off, 2 more would grow back. But Heracles didn't give up. Using a clever tactic, he had his assistant burn the stumps of the heads as they were cut off, ensuring the Hydra could not regenerate. Each victory elevated Heracles, making him even more powerful. But my friends, this journey was transforming him not only physically but spiritually. Heracles' labors weren't just about battling monsters. In his 3rd task, he was asked to capture the Cyrenian hind alive. This animal was sacred to Artemis, and harming it would be an insult to the gods. Here, Heracles' mind and sharp intellect came into play. He chased the delicate creature for months, finally catching it without harming it. After this task, the gods saw him not only as a warrior, but also as a hero who could show patience and mercy when needed. As the years passed, the tasks became even more difficult. He captured the giant wild boar of Mount Erymanthos, cleaned the massive stables of Augeas in a single day, and defeated the vicious birds of Stymphalos. Heracles caught the bull from Crete, tamed Diomedes' flesh-eating horses, stole Gerion's 3-headed cattle, and finally he reached the gates of the underworld. He took Cerberus, the immortal guardian of Hades, and brought him back to the world of the living. As the only mortal to enter and return from the underworld, he had become a being that even the gods admired. Heracles' challenging journey elevated him to a divine status. By the time he completed his 12 labors, his body and soul were no longer of this world. The gods saw his courage and sacrifice and welcomed him among them. Heracles had become one of the immortals of Olympus, a symbol of humanity's strength and determination. So, my friends, what legends will we encounter after such a hero? Will there be other heroes who pay the price for achieving immortality? Let's discover this together in the next chapter. Perseus, a hero who combined courage and intelligence, daring death to fulfill the heavy task fate placed upon him. His story, one of the greatest adventures in Greek mythology, would test not only his bravery, but also the trust the gods had in him. Perseus, son of Zeus, was sent on a dangerous mission by a king to take the head of Medusa, Medusa, the horrifying creature who could turn anyone who looked into her eyes into stone, was the deadliest of the Gorgons. But, my friends, Perseus wasn't alone. Ah, the trust the gods had in him would return as strength and support. Before embarking on his journey, Perseus received the favor of gods like Athena and Hermes. Athena gave him a shield, one so shiny that it acted as a mirror, reflecting Medusa's image. This would protect him from looking directly into her eyes. Athena, knowing Medusa was once a priestess, cursed into this monstrous form, took this task very seriously and wanted Perseus to succeed. Hermes gave him a sharp sword, one that could easily cut off the dreadful monster's head. Hermes also gifted him winged sandals, allowing Perseus to swiftly reach the land of the Gorgons. And, my friends, as if that wasn't enough, Perseus wore Hades' helmet of invisibility. Now he was fully equipped with armor, weapons, and courage. With his winged sandals, Perseus quickly made his way to the land of the Gorgons. The Gorgons slept in eerie silence, as if resting in the embrace of death. Medusa lay in the middle among her petrified victims. Perseus, carefully watching the reflection of the Gorgon in Athena's shield, moved slowly. Keeping his eyes on the reflection, he approached skillfully. When the shield mirrored Medusa's terrifying face, he paused for a moment, for even with her eyes closed, there was a frightening beauty. But he remembered his mission and knew that this magical beauty was a deadly trap. Raising his sword, he struck swiftly and severed Medusa's head from her body. Immediately, Medusa's blood spilled onto the ground, and from it, Pegasus, the magnificent winged horse, was born. So, even in Medusa's destruction, new life was created. But, my friends, this wasn't the end. Medusa's sisters, the other Gorgons, woke up and began searching angrily for Perseus, the killer of their sister. But Perseus, wearing Hades' helmet of invisibility, quickly escaped. With his winged sandals, he soared through the sky, returning with Medusa's head as a symbol of his victory. On his way back, Perseus also rescued a princess named Andromeda from a giant sea monster. By showing the monster Medusa's head, he turned it to stone and saved Andromeda, laying the foundation for a happy life together. Perseus wasn't just a hero. He was also a savior, a lover, and a man beloved by the gods. His victory reinforced the trust the gods had in him, and he earned his place among the immortals. Now, my friends, I ask you this: how far can a person go when saving others and making sacrifices? After Perseus' tale, would you like to learn what secrets lie behind the sacrifices of other heroes and gods? Wait, there is much more to share. My dear friends, the story I'm about to tell you is one where courage and intelligence are tested like never before, in the legendary adventure of the brave hero Theseus. His name became a beacon of hope for the children of Athens and a source of pride for the elderly. But this fame wasn't earned easily. In this tale, you'll witness a man who put on his armor of courage to defeat a monster and fought for freedom along the way. In those days, the people of Athens were burdened by a heavy load. Every year, 7 young men and 7 young women were sent from Athens to Crete. They were sacrificed to a terrifying creature, the Minotaur. half man, half bull, who lived under the rule of King Minos. This monster dwelled in the depths of a fearsome labyrinth, mercilessly hunting its victims. The young people of Athens had to face this dreadful fate each year. But one day, the Athenian prince Theseus decided to end this curse. He volunteered himself as one of the victims, vowing to free his people from this fear, even at the cost of his own life. As Theseus set out for Crete, he carried with him both a sense of duty and perhaps a courage that would ultimately find its end in the jaws of the monster. But his courage also won the heart of Ariadne, Crete's magical princess. Captivated by Theseus's bravery and charm, Ariadne decided to help him. Before he entered the labyrinth, she gave him a ball of thread. This wasn't just any ordinary thread. It was like a life's lifeline, knotted and endless. With Ariadne's clever plan, Theseus would leave the thread behind as he ventured deeper into the labyrinth, ensuring he could find his way back. And with this love-infused guide, Theseus set off toward the dark maze. The labyrinth, my friends, was so complicated that it could drive a person mad. The towering walls, narrow passages, and twisting paths filled the air with a dreadful silence, as if death itself were waiting. With each step, Theseus's heart raced and his breath quickened. Finally, he reached the lair of the Minotaur. This half-human, half-bull beast, fueled by centuries of rage, stood before him. Their eyes met. In the creature's gaze, Theseus saw both wild fearlessness and a burning desire for vengeance. Theseus gripped his sword tightly, gathered all his strength and courage, and charged at the monster. And then, my friends, it was a clash of two worlds, the human will against the beast's savagery. The terrifying growls of the Minotaur echoed in Theseus's ears. Dodging the monster's attacks with swift agility, he skillfully swung his sword, making each strike carefully calculated. And in the end, Theseus's sword plunged into the heart of the Minotaur as the creature took its final breath. The silence that followed in the labyrinth heralded the liberation of the people of Athens. Following the thread, Theseus found his way out of the maze, and in Ariadne's eyes there was hope, while the flames of freedom began to burn in the hearts of the Athenians. When Theseus returned to Athens victorious, the entire city hailed him as a hero. He was no longer just a prince. He was the savior of his people, the symbol of hope. The people of Athens took great pride in Theseus's courage, and now they looked to the future beyond Crete with hope in their hearts. This legendary victory turned Theseus from a hero into a name etched in the heart of Athens. So, my dear friends, now I ask you, with his victory of courage, will Theseus discover the secrets beyond Athens? What gods, what adventures lie in wait for him next? In our next story, we'll continue searching for those answers. My dear friends, your story I'm about to share with you is the beginning of an epic that has been passed down through the ages, where history and myth intertwine. It's the tale of the greatest of wars, a battle where cunning and bravery were tested to the fullest, and even the gods themselves descended to the battlefield. Yes, this is the famous story of the Trojan War. Come, let's embark on this legendary adventure together. Once upon a time, in an era ruled by gods, a dispute between three beautiful goddesses at a wedding feast sparked everything. On that day, at the wedding of Peleus and the sea goddess Thetis, Eris, the goddess of discord, tossed a golden apple into the gathering. This apple, inscribed with the words, "To the fairest," set off a rivalry between the three goddesses known for their beauty. Zeus, unwilling to make the judgment himself, tasked a young shepherd to the decision. The goddesses each promised Paris something in return for his favor. Hera offered him power and wealth. Athena promised him endless wisdom and victory. And Aphrodite promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris, swayed by Aphrodite's promise, gave her the apple, thereby claiming Helen's love as his prize. But, dear friends, the beautiful Helen was already the wife of King Menelaus of Sparta. Paris, in his desire for Helen, kidnapped her and took her to Troy. And that, my friends, was the spark that ignited a war that would spill the blood of all Greece. Menelaus, not content with just chasing after his wife, gathered kings from all corners of Greece. Warriors, heroes, and kings joined forces to stand against this injustice. Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, Agamemnon, these were the names that would be written in gold across the pages of history. They prepared their ships, donned their armor, and set sail for Troy. But this war wasn't only fought by mortals. The gods of Olympus took sides as well. Hera and Athena, furious at having lost Helen to Aphrodite, sided against Troy, while Aphrodite, seeking to prove her worth, stood by the Trojans. Even Zeus, in the midst of this divine conflict, was forced to step back at times, and at others he intervened. Poseidon lent strength to the Greek ships, while Apollo armed himself to defend Troy. Each god and goddess played their part, striving for the victory of their chosen side. This war wasn't just about land. It was a battle for pride, love, honor, and the will of the gods. Over the years, the walls of Troy stood strong. The Greek heroes launched countless attacks, scheming and planning cleverly. With the fury of Achilles, they reached the very gates of Troy. But Hector, the proud prince of Troy, was determined not to give way. His fateful duel with Achilles became one of the most unforgettable moments of the war. Hector sacrificed his life for honor, but even Achilles' wrath could not break the walls of Troy. The war dragged on for years, my friends. Neither Troy fell, nor did the Greek forces retreat, until the moment that Odysseus came up with that famous plan. Yes, they decided to trick the Trojans with a wooden horse. The Trojans, thinking it was a gift, brought the horse into the city, unaware that Greek soldiers were hidden inside. In the dead of night, as the Trojans celebrated their apparent victory, the Greek soldiers emerged from the horse and captured the city. That night, Troy turned into a sea of flames. Its heroes, its people, and even its gods were forever etched into the pages of history, marked with a bitter end. So, my friends, what became of our heroes after the war? What fate awaited Achilles' spirit, lost in the shadows, or Odysseus' long journey home, and the trials the gods had set before them? In the coming stories, we'll continue to unravel these mysteries. Are you ready? Ah, my dear friends, the flames of the Trojan War have died down, and its heroes have set off on their journeys. But not all of them had an easy return. One of them, in particular, faced even greater challenges, deeper dangers. This hero was none other than the clever, wise Odysseus, whose intelligence had earned him fame all across Greece. One of the few survivors of the Trojan conquest, this seasoned warrior prepared his ships with the hope of returning home. But fate had something else in store. 10 long years filled with hardships and trials awaited him. When Odysseus left Troy, he thought the journey would be short. He imagined he'd be in Ithaca in a few weeks, reunited with his loved ones and sitting on his throne. But the gods wouldn't let him have such a peaceful return. Poseidon, enraged over the blinding of his son during the Trojan War, was determined to make Odysseus pay. He would never forgive him, and made sure that every wave, every storm, carried the wrath of the sea. One day, after a long voyage across the seas, Odysseus and his crew landed on a mysterious island. This island was home to the Lotus Eaters, a strange people who consumed magical fruit. Anyone who ate the fruit would forget everything, forsaking all duties and desires. When Odysseus's men tasted the fruit, they lost all desire to return to Ithaca and were completely taken in by the island's soothing allure. But with his intelligence and resolve, Odysseus snapped them out of it, reminding them that their journey was as sacred as a war and they had to return home. After escaping this danger, they sailed into what would be one of their greatest disasters, the land of the Cyclopes. Here, they found themselves trapped in the cave of the giant Polyphemus. The Cyclops' single eye fell to Odysseus's cunning and bravery, but this act of trickery enraged Poseidon even more. The god of the sea could not stay silent about the blinding of his son, so he stirred up the seas, driving Odysseus's ships farther and farther from their destination. But Odysseus didn't only face the wrath of the gods, he also had to deal with magic and temptation. One day, they reached the island of the beautiful and enchanting Circe, a sorceress who turned men into pigs. With a glance, a touch, it was all it took for her to transform them, but with help from the god Hermes, Odysseus overcame Circe's spell, resisted her charms, and saved his men. Still, they stayed with her for a whole year, healing from their wounds, though the time only took them further away from home. After leaving Circe, they had to navigate the dark waters of the sea, where terrifying sirens awaited them. With their songs, the sirens could drive any sailor mad. To get through, Odysseus had his men block their ears with beeswax, but he, determined to hear their haunting melodies, had himself bound tightly to the mast of his ship. Despite his longing to follow the siren's call, he was kept safe, unable to escape his bonds, and thus avoided their deadly spell. But Poseidon wasn't done with Odysseus yet. Next, the hero had to face the most dangerous creatures of the sea, Scylla and Charybdis. On one side, the six-headed monster Scylla, and on the other, the deadly whirlpool Charybdis. Navigating between these two threats was a fight for survival. Odysseus skillfully steered his ship, but he still had to sacrifice some men to Scylla's jaws. Yet they managed to escape the treacherous passage. But the journey didn't end there. Years passed, and each step Odysseus took toward Ithaca brought him face to face with new challenges. He lost all his men and was left alone, adrift on a raft. Some gods, like Zeus, Aphrodite, and Athena, helped him, while others tried to mislead him. But no matter what, Odysseus's hope to return home never faded. Finally, the gods took pity on him and slowly guided him toward Ithaca. The winds, the waves, and the will of the gods brought him closer and closer to home. So, my friends, what awaited Odysseus when he finally reached Ithaca after all these years? What had become of his throne, his home, and his loved ones in his absence? In the next chapter, we'll uncover the answers to these questions. Let's see if the peaceful sight awaiting him in Ithaca will be the kind of rest that a weary warrior dreams of. My dear friends, the stories of the Greek gods, yes, they began on Mount Olympus. It was here that the gods were born, loved, fought, and built their world. But as time passed, the beliefs in the hearts of men began to change. And it was right here that the Olympian gods, too, underwent a transformation with the flow of the ages. The shadows of the gods were reborn with the rise of the mighty Roman Empire, though under different names and faces. The Greek gods took on new identities in the Roman world, strengthened by new myths. Zeus became Jupiter, the mighty ruler of Rome. The famous goddess of beauty, Aphrodite, continued to be exalted under the name Venus. Athena, under the name Minerva, inherited the crown of wisdom. Poseidon, the unshakable god of the seas, was reborn as Neptune. But this change did not diminish the gods' identities or powers in the least. Even when dressed in Roman traditions, the Greek gods remained enchanting, powerful, and equally mysterious. With their new names, they continued to influence, scare, and give hope to the people. Temples were dedicated to them, poems were written in their honor, and statues in every corner of Rome continued to tell their immortal stories. And this was not just the case in Rome, dear friends. As time passed, the heroes and gods of Greek mythology resonated all across the world. The magic of these myths took root not only in temples, statues, and wall paintings, but also in the hearts of people. These stories spread like whispers from the lips of sages, passed down from generation to generation, reaching all the way to our modern world. People drew courage from them, learned about justice, and the concepts of heroism and loyalty found meaning through these tales. Even today, when we walk down the street, enter a museum, or read a poem, we can still feel the legacy of the Greek gods. Their names were given to stars and planets. The beauty of Aphrodite lived on in the glow of Venus. Zeus, the thunderous god of Olympus, continues to represent the kingship of the sky as Jupiter. Concepts like beauty, love, war, and peace, inspired by these ancient stories, have deeply permeated our culture. Now, my friends, why do you think these stories are still so powerful, so deep? Why have these tales, passed down through the centuries, never been forgotten? Perhaps deep inside, we've always yearned for a god, a hero, or a sage. Perhaps the human spirit found something of itself in these ancient stories. Maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of Olympus, a little bit of Rome inside all of us. Thus, dear friends, the legacy of Greek mythology was reborn with Rome, and this legacy became one of the cornerstones of Western culture. Literature, art, science, and even philosophy thrived, nourished, and enriched by the stories of these gods and heroes. These legends, transcending myths, became a part of our culture, an endless source in our minds. The myths lived on, and the gods and heroes turned into symbols within our thoughts. But, could there still be a spark of life on the peaks of Olympus? A tremendous galaxy, the world of magic. My name is Patrick O'Neill. My website is patrickoneil.com, and all of my social media handles are at SuKSimplim.